morning. I think we've got our whole group here, so we are excited to see you and hope that you are enjoying the delicious pulled pork sandwiches. I, of course, cooked them if they're good. If they're not good, then that was Ella's. So, anyhow, no, Ella's always does a wonderful job. So, I'm Deidre Martinez. For those who don't know me, I'm the Executive Director of the Sheboygan County Chamber, and we have our June version of our First Friday Forum. So first I want to say thank you to Prevea. Prevea has continued to support the First Friday Forums, and we're so appreciative of their sponsorship. So if you see anyone from Prevea, feel free to say thank you and give them a shout out. But today we are going to have Dan Welsch, who is the owner and operator of Dumper Dan's Condos and Dumper Dan's Fishing Charter Condos and Riverfront Store. Did I get it all? Okay.
Correct.
Making sure. He's got the largest fleet in Sheboygan with 6 boats loaded in the water ready to get you out there. His boats are ready April through October with reservations open all year round. He has the most boats, the most trips, and the most fish caught per the DNR. Please help me in welcoming Dan Welsch.
Thank you. Well, first of all, thank you for the introduction, and thank you for letting me attend your meeting today. I really do appreciate that. I'm going to try and cover everything today as far as what tourism that I've been involved with for 37 years now. I've been in business, Dumper Dan's. We're going to cover fish stocking, net pens, where the people come from, my company, like she mentioned, my condos, Riverfront Store, the boats, and what we all do here at the Port of Sheboygan. So we're going to cover all that here in the next hour. As I touch on each subject, I'm going to open it up for questions before I go to the next the item. But I want to cover everything for you, clue you in on what we all do and what this beautiful Port of Sheboygan offers to everybody throughout the Midwest. The first question I have for you, though, is raise your hand if you're ready for summer. Yeah, exactly. Anonymous. Perfect. We are too, because the spring this year with us and my boats has been brutal. It's been windy, it's been wet, it's been everything. Cold. The water temperatures on Lake Michigan are really cold yet, kind of below normal on water temperatures here the early part of June. But we did put our boats in the water in April. We had some nice days too, but it's been, as you all know, it's been a cold, windy spring. And I think summer's here now finally. It's sun shining and it's warming up, and water temperatures are slowly increasing as well. Fish are becoming more active, so we're happy to see that going in the right direction. So hopefully we have a great summer for everybody, either if you're on land, on the water, or anywhere in between. So I want to start this out because some of you might not know exactly what we do. Some might, some have fished with me. So we're going to show last year's, I have Midwest Outdoors Television come every year, and we film a show at my place at Dumper Dan's. Greg Jones is the host. Dennis Lapel's the cameraman. Great crew. We get along great. I met these guys at a sport travel vacation show 25 years ago, and we've been doing shows a long time. This one is last year, and I believe it was in June or early July. I believe June. And I want you to watch the video. It's about 8 minutes long, and it really shows what we do, how we troll for these fish, what the boat looks like, what the fish look like, and what we all do. So we're going to watch this video next. We do have Brittany Howard on board, which is a Grammy Award winner, 5-time singer, with her band and outfit, and she had a ball in Sheboygan at Dumper Dan's out of the Port of Sheboygan. So we're going to show this video next. Check it out, and then after that we'll go into everything else I just talked about. So enjoy the video. Let's get that first one. Alex has got him. Nice fish, man. Good start. And he's off the hook already. Good job.
There you go.
There's a quick start.
Hey folks, good morning. We're out with our good friend Dumper Dan out of Lake Michigan. We've been fishing about 5 minutes. We got a special guest today, 5-time Grammy Award winner Brittany Howard. This gal can play a mean guitar and she sings like an angel. We're going to help her catch some fish today.
Got our first one in the bucket here, nice brown trout. We're going to get the rest of the lines in the water and see if we can catch some more.
That's a nice chunky start.
Nice chunky start.
Is it on there, PA?
Yeah. Great.
It's just really far out.
Yeah. What do you tell her how much lines he's got on?
We got it, TA.
Yeah.
Dixie?
We got Taylor Ann hooked up. How you feeling, Taylor Ann?
This is definitely the hardest fish I've ever caught in my life. I don't know if I'm cut out for this, y'all. I'm trying my best.
You're doing great.
She does look like she's working.
Yeah, she's great. Yeah.
All right, well, we're fighting a nice fish right now on a 450 copper setup, and what that means is it's a weighted line, copper line, that takes your bait down pretty deep, actually, 450 feet of copper. It goes down about 80 to 100 feet of water down in the water column. It's on an inside planer board.
You hold it, I'm present.
Yep.
This is a group practice now, baby. There's no way I can do this. There's no way.
Yeah, I gotta get there. Yeah, I got the rod. Yep. Yeah! Woo! Nice job. Yeah. Bravo!
What have you got? That was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. That is literally half of my size.
So how was that, Taylor Ann?
Literally the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. I don't know how I did it.
Well, you did a
You
great.
guys helped me, so thank you.
You did a great job.
All right, Tim, show us how it's done.
Right to the back.
How far down do you think this fish was when we caught it?
When he hit, he was probably down, give or take, about 75, 80 feet down.
Okay.
You got him about halfway in already, but he was out there a ways. So how do you like this kind of fishing?
Well, it's very different than catching
Yep.
pumpkin seed sunfish, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, good point. We always say
gosh.
when the bobber goes down here, you hang on tight.
Yeah, this is a full-bodied experience.
Full body experience.
Yeah.
I like it.
Right now, I'm flexing every muscle in my body.
Yep.
So, if anyone had any doubt that fishing is a sport, well, this was how you tell.
Steely, huh?
Got a nice
Hey!
fish. Wow, is that a big one?
Ha-ha!
Oh, wow. Well, what do you think?
Well, this is an amazing fish. I've never caught a fish this big in my life.
It's a big one. It's a Lake Michigan rainbow trout, or we call them steelhead.
Wow.
Gorgeous fish, fun to catch. As you can see, he fought really hard.
Yeah, I'm out of breath.
So yeah, very nice. You did a great job
Thank
on
you.
the
That was-
pole, and we got him in the box, and we're gonna put him on the grill soon.
Yeah, thank you.
You bet. Don't lose them.
How can you tell when you've got one on the line?
You can tell when the rod really starts pounding. We call it bucking the rod. It just keeps pounding. You grab the rod, get it out of the holder, loosen it, drag up a little bit. But these fish fight hard, so you'll see it when the fish hits.
Come back.
Yep, we're gonna sit down in the chair so I don't know.
Ooh, might be a coal, might be a rainbow. Do we got a net man? We got a net man. We need a net man. There he is. We got him. Wow, nice fish. Yeah. These fish are delicious. Really good coal salmon.
Nice job. Grab it. Yeah. We gonna have any lines left down pretty soon.
You can do this.
Got it, Tim.
I believe in you.
How you doing, Tiffany?
A little out of breath, a little nauseous, but honestly, the distraction is helping a little bit.
There you go. Nice. There you go. Another king in the boat.
Oh, my Lord.
You got a ways to go.
Brittany, spending life on the road playing music, you get to go do some different adventures, but fishing's one of your favorites, huh?
That's right.
You get to fish all over the place when you go?
You know, I try to. Whenever we got a day off, we're next to some nice water, I'll try to go out there and fish it.
Started fishing with your parents?
Yeah, my dad used to take us fishing when we were really little, and I don't know, it never really left me. It's always been something that kind of grounds me and calms me down and just reminds me who I am and where I'm from.
Keep coming. What do we got? Yep. Keep coming, keep coming, keep coming, keep coming, keep coming.
Step backwards if you can.
We got him. I got the rod, Brittany. Good job. You did it. You did it.
So Dumper Dan, I understand we just did something pretty awesome.
We did. We got the Lake Michigan Grand Slam. It's not easy to do, but we just got the job done. The Grand Slam, what that means is all 5 species that we're fishing for we caught today. We caught king salmon, rainbow trout, lake trout, brown trout, and coho salmon, all 5
right.
species.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Dumper Dan, tell me a little bit about your operation. What are you running here?
Well, I run out of the port of Sheboygan. I have 6 charter boats, matching fleet of 30-foot Bajas that we run out of Sheboygan. This is my 38th year in business, so I've been around a while. We run consistently every year, the last decade, over 1,000 trips a season, so we stay busy at what we do. We have riverfront condos, we have lakefront condo right on the beach, and we have a riverfront store, so we have it all. It's the one-stop shop for fishing, lodging, store, everything.
So if someone wanted to book a trip with you, how would they go about doing that?
The best way is to call me direct, 920-377-1147 like you folks did.
Want to put a big shout out to Brittany Howard for joining us on the boat. Her friends Emily, Tiffany, and Taylor Ann, and Dumper Dan himself, of course, Captain Geo, First Mate Alex. Folks, if you want to come out and catch some fish, all you got to do is look up dumperdan.com. I'm Greg Jones. More Midwest Outdoors is coming right up.
So what'd you think of that? It looked like fun? Thanks. Yeah, that's what it's all about. What's that?
A little fishy.
Yeah, a little fishy, just a little fishy, right? Thank God we got some fish. But yeah, we explained what the Grand Slam was, and that's what I was going to mention. 2 of them are the species we catch out of Sheboygan, the 5 different species, which is lake trout, rainbow trout, brown trout, king salmon, like I mentioned, coho salmon. There are pink salmon in the lake. We catch some of the pink salmon. There's some Atlantic salmon.
I caught a pink salmon.
You did. That's right.
Year,
yeah.
21 inch.
Yeah, that's right.
Beautiful fish.
Yep, they're unique. There's not a whole lot of them. The DNR doesn't plan a lot of them because of everything else they're planning, but the pink salmon are pretty popular, Atlantic salmon. So yeah, there's plenty of trout and salmon to catch. That's our website, dumperdan.com. Our Facebook on the right page is right there. You can click on that. What I do, I used to have a fishing reports board on there, and I took it off this last year because everybody was going to our Facebook page, so we do all of our fishing reports and videos on there daily. My captains are on there, I'm on there, so you can go to our Facebook page, Dumper Dan Sportfishing Charters, see what we're catching on a daily basis, videos, what have you. Keep everybody kind of informed. Then our pricing, our website, my phone number, all that good stuff on our website, dumperdan.com. Now, the one thing I wanted to mention too, I'm pretty excited about is all the years I've been doing this, going on 38 years this year, but is I always wanted to bring TV shows to town for a different way to advertise and just a different way to target people and guests that we can get to come to Sheboygan. And the TV shows, I just got off the phone with him an hour ago, Dan Small, Outdoor Wisconsin. I do talk radio with him every Saturday morning, WHBL here in Sheboygan. But we cover like 6 radio stations in Wisconsin every week with him. He's not doing TV anymore, but I've done 30-some shows with him. I've had John Gillespie out twice, this company many years, Midwest Outdoors. Buck McNeely from Missouri, had him out twice. And I'm always trying to target different angles of advertising because a lot of the new people that come into the business ask, how did you get so busy? How do you get all them trips? And there's not one magical way to do it. You got to really cover a lot of different angles to get people here, and it takes time. It took me 38 years to get where I'm at. You know, I started with 1 boat. My first year I ran 26 charters back in 1985, right out of high school. And now we're running, the last decade, we've run over 1,000 trips a year. The most we've ever run is about 1,200 in 1 year, which is the most on the lake. And like she mentioned, DNR-wise, number-wise, nobody runs more than we do on the lake, and that's some big numbers. And the good news is they're all coming to Sheboygan, and that's what I'm advertising here. And the reason I bring that up too is with the Port of Sheboygan is when I started doing sport shows back in the late 80s, early 90s, and I cover the whole Midwest at the sport show circuit in the winter. All I heard about back in the day was Algoma, Kewaunee, Door County, Door County, Door County. Nobody knew Sheboygan existed, and I'm like, I want to try and change this single-handedly if I can. Plus, I need the business, so I went to a lot of these shows. I did the TV shows, and I tried to cover that angle, the sport shows, the TV shows, print ad, advertising to get Sheboygan on the map, and I turned it around quite a bit over 30-some years, of doing this, and now you go to shows, and they heard of Sheboygan, they fished with me, or they fished with one of the other companies here, but they came here. And back in the day, it was always a dogfight with Door County to get them to come to Sheboygan, and we've turned that corner, so that's huge. And I guess where I'm going with this too is I'm working with the chamber in the city, the mayor. I talked to him many times. I want to film this year. The end of July, we're going to film a Sheboygan show on Midwest Outdoors. Greg Jones will be the host of that. I don't know if we're going to do any fishing. We might just show a picture of somebody holding a fish, but it's going to be the city's show, and they're going to show the boardwalk, they're going to show the marina, whatever you guys decide you want to show. We're going to put together the riverfront, the boardwalk, and put that on Midwest Outdoors, which will be huge for Sheboygan. So up and beyond what I do, it's just the fishing and the lodging and the shop I have, the store down on the riverfront. We can cover kayaking and everything, sailing, whatever we all decide when we do this Midwest Outdoors Sheboygan show, which we're going to film this year in July, and then it'll be on whenever they decide. What's nice with this company is you can choose when you want it aired, and it also comes with a lot of commercials. So you make 30-second commercials, and you can show that every week for 6 months if you want. Very affordable, definitely worth doing, and it's just a nice market to be in. It covers, like I said earlier, Fox Sports North, which is pretty much the whole Midwest, up to about Iowa. Then after that, you get into the Pursuit Channel. The Pursuit Channel goes all the way down to the Florida Keys, so you can cover everything on this Midwest Outdoors, which is really nice. So one of the better companies that I've dealt with for advertising. So pretty excited about that. A Sheboygan show is nice. I'll be doing my own fishing show again this year. So we'll actually have 2 shows here. So and like I said, I've done all the sport shows over the years. I think I've done every one in the Midwest at least once, from Omaha to Lincoln. Some of my favorite areas was Fargo, Sioux Falls. They come from that far away. Minneapolis is awesome. St. Paul shows are great. Been to there for 30 years straight. And what I find with people coming to Sheboygan, I don't know about other activities with golfing and what have you, but with fishing, it seems like if it's an 8-hour drive or less, you'll get them to come. If you're starting to push that envelope of 9-10 hours, they're not gonna, it's too far to drive. So 8 hours is what I always targeted when I went to these shows and promoted the area on myself and brought them here for salmon and trout fishing. So, but we get them from all over the Midwest. And my best state, believe it or not, for customers is Minnesota. With 10,000 lakes, you wouldn't think they would want to come to Sheboygan, but they don't have salmon. So they have walleyes, perch, and everything else. And they love to fish, which is great, but they don't have salmon and trout, so they come here for that. And they're fishermen and fishing families and companies, and Minnesota's, a great place to advertise to bring people in because they'll come. So yeah, yep.
Question, because
Yeah.
you're talking a lot about how charter fishing is really a tourism, really a significant tourism draw and an economic driver for Sheboygan. Do you have an idea, roughly how many dollars come into Sheboygan on an annual basis, or a rough estimate?
That's a good question. I don't have that number, but I do know that they did look at numbers of what the industry does on the Great Lakes, and it's a $4.3 billion business with just fishing. I don't even think they consider lodging. I think it was just charter fishing. But as far as what comes into Sheboygan, I'm not exactly sure on a dollar amount, but what's nice about, and that's a great question, what's nice about the vacationers that come in is they're coming here to fish with me, they're lodging here, they're staying at Harbor Winds, they're staying at Grand Stay Hotel Blue Harbor, golfing. They're spending money, and they're coming here to do a lot of different things in a couple days' time, and that's what's nice with our market, with what I do, is it's a quick turnaround. You don't have to schedule a whole week to come here. You can come here in 2 or 3 days, get back home, and get on to your life and your work and what you have to do. So, but it's a big draw. They spend some money, and yeah, it's a good question. I'll have to find that number out someday. But they come here and they enjoy it, and they're on vacation. And the one thing, Greg, I just wanted to touch on this. Greg Jones, the first year he came here, we walked on the boardwalk together, and before we filmed the first show we did, and he goes, "Dumper, this is a gold mine." He said, "It's clean, it's organized, it's beautiful." And he looked at me and he goes, this is what he said. He goes, "It reminds me of the Florida Keys." He said, "There's water, he loved it, and that's how I hit it off with him doing all these shows. And And I hear a lot of that from customers all the time, how we should be proud. I mean, Sheboygan is a nice, clean organization, not just the Port of Sheboygan, but the city. And I hear that all the time on how nice Sheboygan is. And what's nice with down by us also is we're a one-stop shop for everything, not just me, everything. You park your car, you go to the hotel at Harbor Winds, my condos, Blue Harbor, what have you. You can walk to the pubs and girls, you can walk to the gift shops, you can go play mini golf, the ice cream store. They love that. They park the car for 2-3 days and they walk everywhere, and you don't have that anywhere else. Port Washington, not really. Algoma, definitely not. So we're fortunate with that as well. But you had a question?
Yeah, what do you think the percentage is of people who don't live in Sheboygan versus people who live in Sheboygan with booking your service?
As far as living what?
The percentage of who uses your Dumper Dan's, residents versus non-residents.
Oh, as far as the fishing and lodging and everything? Well, Sheboygan, just Sheboygan? Probably a small percentage, just because this is why, and that's a great question, it really is. And that's why I do these shows in all these different states, because people that live in Sheboygan or even in Wisconsin, but more so like you're asking, Sheboygan, they either have a boat, they fish on the pier, or they know somebody with a boat. Do I book charters, locals from Sheboygan? Absolutely. And companies? Absolutely. I have some of the biggest companies that run with us as well, with their clients and what have you. But most of the people in the Sheboygan area have access to some way of fishing, which is good. If it's, like I said, their own boat or what have you, or a friend. So the percentages for me is kind of small, just for that reason. And that's why I mark it out farther, because, then people come in. But yeah, and out of states, another thing I can touch on, just like I did, is we get more out of state people coming in than we do in state. That's why Minnesota's number one, and that's a good thing, because people have connections and they know about the water and the fishing. So yeah. Yep.
I was curious, how did you get the name Dumper Dan?
Dumper Dan. I knew that was going to come. I knew it. There's a lot. That's a good question. But anyways, there's a lot of different versions of it. Ask any of my captains, because they'll feed you full of it, and most of it's not true. But we make a joke of it. But what happened is, when I started in 1978, 79, I was on the wharf side of the river. I worked on a charter boat as a first mate. I was 13 years old, 14. Then I lost some fish in the landing net. And when you lose fish in the landing net, they call it dumping them. You dumped them, you lost them. So they call me Dumper Dan the Net Man. Yeah. So I had to go all through junior high and high school with that nickname. So that was real popular with the girls, right? Dumper Dan, Dumper Dan. But that's Dumper Dan the Net Man is how it happened, and that's where I got my nickname. And the company I work for, believe it or not, the guy is out running one of my boats right now, and he's been with me ever since. He's my oldest captain that works for me, George. Been around a long time. He's an awesome fisherman. He gave me the nickname, and he bought me a jacket of his company when I worked for him, and it said Dumper Dan the Net Man right on the jacket. So,
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, you betcha. No problem. Thanks for asking. But yeah, it's what I like about the name too, and everybody does, is my mom talked me into calling Dumper Dan's in 1985. I was going to call it I had a list of names I made up, and I was going to call my company something else, and I'm just starting. I don't know what so I had a bunch of names, and my mom's like, you got to call it Dumper Dan. Everybody knows you as that. And I'll tell you what, you walk through the Minneapolis Sports Show, and everybody that walks by the booth, I heard of him, I seen him, I saw him on TV. That's a catchy name. People remember it, and that was huge in business, I think. And I didn't know that when I'm 18 years old, starting my business, but I'm glad I did that, because people remember it, and it's just a catchy name you don't forget. So yeah, it's kind of neat that way. But
can you talk a little bit about, obviously we can't continue to have charter fishing if we don't have fish to fish, and I know you play, as well as some of the others, a significant role in making sure that our lake is taken care of. Absolutely.
And we had a scary situation. It was 5 years ago with Lake Michigan. And the DNR was proposing, they felt there was no bait left in the lake, and a lot of you probably heard that with the alewife population. And at that time, they were going to cut king salmon stock by 69%, and figured it would wipe out the king salmon fishing forever. And they wanted to make it back to what it was in the 70s, or 60s, I'm sorry, a lake trout lake, which is natural reproduction of lake trout and just lake trout, and that was it. And we felt, not that we just wanted the kings, we felt that that was the wrong move because what we were catching were big in size and full of bait. So I actually rallied with a couple of charter boat captains from Algoma, some business owners from Kewanee, Port Washington, all up and down Milwaukee, Racine. We got together and started the WLBA, which is a Wisconsin Lakeshore Business Association 5 years ago. And we hired a lobbyist team out of Madison. They fished with me in the past. To a tag team outfit they're awesome. They go after the hunting and fishing. They're right next to the DNR building in Madison. Went there for multiple meetings and actually got to go in front of the National Resource Board, DNR, and talk to them about how we felt. And we went to the top of the top. We felt we can't have this, and we turned it around. And they asked why. We showed them videos. We showed them pictures. They took the cut away, never had the cut, which was great. We kept it at that for a couple of years, and now we increased. We're on the third year, 2022 this year, of a 3-year increase that started a couple of years ago. And we felt that we got to start increasing these fish. I mean, they plant them every year at about 1 million fish on the Wisconsin side of trout and salmon combined. But we added another 1.2, and we about doubled it, give or take, the last 3 years. And we're going to reap the benefits of that now. We're starting to catch them fish now because these fish live 4 years and they spawn and they die. It's quick, so you got to keep stocking them. But we ended up doubling the stock, and that helped tremendously. Just today, I was out on the water this morning, and you might see when you go down there or check it out, the river's full of alewife. When I came in with my boat, it's amazing. They're like a wall of bait fish. They'll go from here to that window, and they'll just jump out of the water, and it's just full of bait everywhere in the river and out on the lake. So that's a good thing, and that's going to bring this lake around with all the alewife and shad we have, plus doubling our salmon and trout population will make the next decade just tremendous here on the Wisconsin side. And now we're going back in August for another, because this will end a 3-year proposal, and we're going to go back and keep it about the same, but we want to add more steelhead and rainbow trout. We want to double that because it's a fun fish to catch for kids, for families, and they're good to eat and they get real big in size, and they're fun to fight and catch. So we're after doubling that, and that fish eats more bug hatch than they really do alewife, so it's not going to put any more of a dent in the alewife population. So yeah, that's WLBA. Check it out online. You can see it off my Facebook page too, but we post on Facebook when we go to Madison, when we talk to people about things. We're going to have DNR ride-alongs this year too. I'm going to have 2 of them out of Sheboygan. These other companies up and down the coast are going to have ride-alongs. I'm going to have Al Blizzle out with me twice, just to show him what we see. He's going to come along on a charter actually, and just tag along and take a look at the graph, take a look at the fish when we clean them, see how healthy they are. So we're doing a DNR ride-along too. So we're getting the DNR out with us to see what we're seeing.
I always wondered what was going on with the eelwives, because I remember as a kid, I never wanted to go down to Lake Michigan because the beaches just smelled with the fish, and you're running through the beach and you're stepping on these crunchy little silvery fish, and it's like, oh good God. And then they kind of disappeared, and I'm like, oh, that's great. But then the other
For you, not for them.
No, but then the other thing that I did when I was in high school, we'd go schmelting. And so that's really my question. Where did all the smelt go?
Well, the smelt, what I talk to commercial outfits quite a bit, Sagers and Sheboygan, but Andy LaFond and Kewanee, I'm good friends with him and stuff, and what they see them in their nets out deeper, not at a population we had years ago, but what's happened from then to now, zebra mussels. Yeah. And zebra mussels cleaned up the water considerably. We had to change our ways of fishing to catch these fish, as you saw in a video, because the water's so clear and the fish can see the boat at times. You can see 40 feet down at times. So their thinking was, where do the smelt come at night? They come along the beaches, and back in the day we had cloudy water, and they'd come in and they would be in cover. Now they're spooky as all get out, so they don't come into the beaches at night in the shallow water because it's like gin clear. It's they can see everything, you can see them, and they're spooky. So the commercial outfits say that they see them out farther in the lake, like 5, 6, 7 miles offshore. but they don't come into the beaches like they have. There was some in here this year. Some of my first mates did get a half a pail full a couple nights. Black River.
Because I remember you go out and
Oh,
you'd come
God.
home with 4 or 5
Yeah.
full 5-gallon buckets.
You'd fill them.
Cleaning until 3 or 4 in the morning.
Yep.
I mean, it's quick cleaning, but boy, they're really
Well,
tasty.
Yeah, they're good to eat. They're good deep fried, but yeah, we just don't see them anymore, and it's unfortunate because they were, like you said, they were fun to catch and good to eat. But they're still out there. I don't think they're out there in the numbers they were, but they're still, from what I've been hearing, they're still out there, and the bait fish are with them as well. So you had a question too?
Yeah, so a good segue. You mentioned the zebra mussels.
Mm-hmm.
What are the biggest challenges for invasive species, in your opinion?
As far as who?
Invasive species in the lake.
Well,
Fishing and such.
zebra mussels, everybody, I mean, you got the lamprey eel from back in the day. That was, a species that we were worried about. But the zebra mussels, I personally think it's a good thing for the lake. I mean, you gotta, like the intakes of the power plant, what have you have to watch, that there's not issues with clogging up of intakes and discharges and all that kind of stuff. But as far as our boat engines and stuff, we don't have any problems with them. But they're in Lake Winnebago. They're in, I think, Elkhart Lake even. I mean, they're getting around and they're cleaning up the water, which is good. But I don't think it's a bad thing. At first, we all thought it was, but we're used to it. It's making the water more clear, and I think in the long run, it's a good thing. And any other species in the lake, we really don't have any issues with. We do have sea fleas. When the water gets warm, it's a sea flea. That actually, the salmon feed on that, so that it's hard to fish in that once in a while. That stuff gets caught on your line when the water gets warm, but in the lamprey eels, we haven't seen a whole lot of that. That's a good thing because they shock the rivers to kill off a lot of the eels. And as far as species of other items, the Asian carp thing, we haven't seen anything of. I mean, they got the shock barriers in the Illinois River and what have you. So I don't think they would survive in the lake, just because of how deep and cold it is. They're more of a river fish. So I think for the next decade or two, I think we're good with that. I mean, there's always a scare of something going to happen, but from zebra mussels to everything else, I think we're safe. So yeah, definitely. Yep.
So
sure.
The DNR obviously typically is very opposed to invasive species and try to protect us from species that aren't naturally part of the habitat.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've been curious for a while why they actively support having these salmon and other things. I assume that before the DNR there was some sort of fish in the lake.
Mm-hmm.
So
the lake trout.
Why did the DNR get involved in planting these fish that aren't naturally there?
Exactly what Scott brought up earlier. That was the reason. In 1963-64, they put the cohos in before the kings because the beaches were so full of alewife. Like he said, you'd walk on them, the beaches smelled. If you got an east wind, you could smell it on the west side of Sheboygan. And that's why they put salmon in the lake. And he started with cohos in 63-64. They put kings in 67 to eat up the bait fish, or we would have had a mess out there and you would have had bait fish everywhere. So that's a good question, and that's why they put the salmon in.
Before that, had there been overfishing of the larger fish, the lake trout, or I'm
Just
just curious why that wasn't already in natural equilibrium?
Well, the lake trout was the only thing that was natural to the lake, and perch. There was perch in the lake, and then carp, and then lake trout. So that's why they put them in to do that. Before that, there was nothing, and that's when they started the salmon stocking in 63 to 67, pretty heavy. Just to take care of that. The reason was just the bait fish, that's it. They didn't think it was going to be a sport fishery, or a tourism attraction to Lake Michigan, but it turned out to be that, but they put them in there just to clean up the beaches and eat up the bait fish alewife. And before that, there was, no existence of salmon. It was so early in the stages that, I don't know how the beaches and things were back in the 40s and 50s. I never heard, but I know in the early 70s it was like Scott said, in early 80s, all the 70s was full of alewife. And that the alewife, a lot of people think, why do they die? Why are they on the beaches? They're a half saltwater, half freshwater fish. They came from the ocean actually, and they only survive so long in freshwater, so they do die off. They're a real delicate fish. They really are. So that's why you see a die off, but it's like 10% of what's really out in the lake. When we're out there trolling, we got nice, 12-inch fish finders or graphs, whatever you want to call them, and we'll see pods of bait fish on that graph that are just ginormous. I mean, so there's a lot of them out there swimming around besides the ones that are dying on the beach or in the river. So, but it's a good food source for what we got in the lake right now, definitely.
Yep. For I guess for the fish stocking purposes, like if you were to stop stocking, like is there like a natural I guess population that removes itself, or is it like what would you say when you're catching an average fish, like what percentage is stocked?
There's not enough natural reproduction to support the industry. There's too many fishermen out there that would take them all out, not just charter guys, but sport fishing guys, pier anglers, shore anglers. They wouldn't, and that's what we brought up with the DNR when we formed the WLBA. And I think the DNR numbers are a little high on what they think natural reproduction is. I heard Michigan's got a better natural, if you've ever been over to Michigan, take the car ferries across or drive around, their river systems are different than ours. They have a little better natural reproduction than we do because of their sand bottoms and the way it's formed over there compared to here. But the percentage is low. Last time I heard, I think it was like 18% natural reproduction, so very low. If we didn't plant the fish, we would be seeing lake trout down the road, and that's it. And to sell lake trout, to Minnesota, anglers are probably going to go to Lake Superior and not come to Wisconsin. So that's why we got to keep the stocking going. They do fin clip them so we can tell if they're natural or not. So that's big news. And we can keep track. In our DNR reports that we hand in monthly, our charter boat captains, the guys that work for me and myself, I'm a captain too, we have to hand that information in so you get that 18% number. But they got to keep stocking, definitely. And they've been doing that since 63-4, so it's a good thing for Lake Michigan. So yeah.
Back to invasives a little bit. Have you noticed, I mean, anecdotally we've been hearing that, with the brown gobies, that the gobies have been, like the whitefish have been eating them, especially like ice fishing time and things like that. Have you noticed anything, have the salmon or anything realized that this could be a potential food source, or is this...
With the gobies?
Yeah. Or have they been still not really interacting with them?
Well, the DNR did bring that up too, to the salmon eat the gobies, and we've, my fish cleaners, first mates that I have by me, check it out. We look at what's in them when we clean them. There are a few gobies in the salmon, but the ones that really consume the gobies are the brown trout. The brown trout, and they're located on, a lot of the gobies are up by Whistling Straits, Pigeon River, Black River along the shoreline, and that's where the browns hang out. The salmon go a little more offshore, so they're not consuming them as much. But the brown trout do gobble up some gobies, there's no doubt, and there's enough of them in the lake yet. It's not an overabundance, but it is another food source.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. So yeah. So any more questions? Yep.
So of all the ports on the Wisconsin side, where does Sheboygan rate?
As far as fishing or chartering?
Well, good question. There's a difference.
Well, I'll cover it all. But as far as back in the day, that's a good question too. I mean, Sheboygan had 80, I think it was 86. I'm pretty sure it was 86 licensed charter boat captains. That's back when I started in 85 to 90. 86 was the biggest number. There wasn't 86 boats here, but there was 70. There was a lot. When I started, there was a lot of charter boats here. Right now, I have 6 boats, and I think there's another 16 here, so about 24 total. Most of them are one boat operations, but we're down to 24 boats. We're 16 companies, give or take 1 or 2, but that's pretty close on the numbers. But back in the day, we were the largest on numbers. We were also the best on the Wisconsin side for anglers per hour fish catching. And we were number 1 for many, many years with the most fish caught. Right now, we're not. We're right. It's like a 3-way kind of tie, but right now, Port Washington has the most charter boats. They do catch the most fish. And we are right in about the 2nd place. Algoma's right there with us in about 2nd or 3rd. So Port Washington, Algoma, and Sheboygan are right there. I think we're in 2nd as far as fish, and we are in boats 2nd. But Port's pretty sure the biggest right now. I think they got about 42 boats in Port. But yeah, back in the day we had a lot of them. What's that?
Why do they pick Port versus Sheboygan?
As far as the business guys?
Yeah, and more charter boats, more fishing.
I don't know. Well, the thing with Port though is there's bigger multiple boat operations there than here. I have the 6, and that's why I like being in Sheboygan, because I'm the only one with multiple boats. I mean, there's 2 other outfits that have 2 boats, but you know, they're a little more competitive there because, you know, you got Fox and you got Nicky Boys and you got Barbie Doll. You got outfits that have 4 boats, 3 boats, 2 boats. And so some of the companies got a little bigger, you know, in port, so they added more boats. I don't know, Port Washington's always been kind of, I always watched their cam once in a while too. We have 3 cams, live cams here in Sheboygan overlooking the lake, but I look at theirs once in a while, and it's a unique port. It really is. A lot of people like it. They talk about it. I don't like the parking there at all because you can't find a place anywhere to park. And even the charter boat captains are friends of mine there, and they don't like the parking. But it seems like people like fish days in port. You know, a lot of people go to that and what have you. But the Manitowoc's got the least amount.
Events and marketing and
Yeah.
they're pulling them in.
Well, absolutely.
Right. I'd be curious how many are from out of state for them versus how many are more local.
No, marketing's a good point. They definitely cover that well. And yeah, Manitowoc's one of the least ports. I think they have 4 charter boats in Manitowoc, and they used to be bigger back in the day. I mean, every port's down quite a bit, but I think the good news on that is, and what I've seen, and I've been from top to bottom is, you know, 87 boats to 26 right now out of Sheboygan, is I think it's a better thing for the customer because now the outfits, you got to be licensed, insured, inspected, all this stuff. Back then it was a little different with some of these guys that ran. You know what you're getting. You got a solid company, you know, and it isn't a million companies out there. It's just a handful on each port, give or take, whatever. And yeah, it's better for the customer because he's getting more for his money. He's getting a solid business. It's not everybody chartering, you know. It's good. It's a good thing, even though the numbers are down. I think it's still a good thing, you know. And it was too much back then, but now it's at a good number, I think, for Sheboygan, anyways.
Yeah, you don't have a one-way trip out to the lake with a fly-by-night operation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, back in the day, he would start on this end of the boardwalk and go to the end, and this guy was $500, this guy was $200, and this guy was a 6-pack of beer. You know, and then it's like, you have a license? Oh, license? What license? You know?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Any concerns when they decommission the Edgewater power plant and the water discharge is no longer coming?
No, just because of what I brought up on Scott's question. We don't have a whole lot of shoreline fishing like we used to. So no, I mean, we used to fish the warm water discharge, and you know, bait fish would come in there, and we'd fish salmon and trout in there at spring and fall usually. So as far as what they're doing, as far as fishing goes, no, we're not going to be affected at all. I don't think it'll make much of a difference, but I'm going to miss it because it's a landmark that I've seen my whole life out there, and that's the last thing. When you go out in a lake and you're out 12 miles, it's the last thing you see is the power plant, the stacks. So yeah, that and the 6-story building we got are the last 2 things you see there, the bank building. But I don't think it'll make a difference on fishing at all. But yeah, I miss it because a lot of people, you know, when you call your buddy up, he says, yeah, I'm off the power plant. And he's off Whistling Straits, but he can see the power plant. So it's like, no, you're not off the power plant. But it's just, it was a big building you could obviously see. So, but I don't think it'll make a difference at all on the fishery. Now, that being said, the Sheboygan Harbor is really unique. We have a 40-mile-long river that's got brown water that flows out into the lake after a rain, and that's awesome for us. That draws in trout and salmon. The bait can hide in there. We fish in there. And if you ever are driving around and you see my Burgundy boats out in front of the harbor or a pile of boats, they're fishing in there for a reason. They're biting. And it's a great spot. And that's where them fish come back to spawn in the fall, is right up our Sheboygan River. Now, a lot of them are man-made harbors, and there's the water, you can see the bottom in 20 feet right by their boats. You know, where we got cover, the brown water's really good. So we do have some shoreline fishing, which is good for pier anglers. They can go out on the north or south pier and cast and catch a 25-pound salmon, you know, which is really nice. So, yeah. Yes?
How far do you go out? Like in your video when you're catching all those fish, how far out were you?
How far out?
Yeah.
Well, it varies on water temperature. Right now I had 4 boats out this morning. I got 5 boats going out at 2 o'clock to Saft. We're on a school of fish south of town off of Lake Terry Andrews State Park. We're catching them in like 180 to 240 feet of water. But once this water starts to stabilize, we get some warmer water all over. Normally, what's nice with Sheboygan, we're out on a point, so we got better access to get the fish too, which is a plus for Sheboygan. On an average trip, you're going out 1.5 miles, 2 miles, maybe 3. But at times, we can be out 10 miles or so. But that's way better than like Chicago. I mean, they got to go 20 miles when the water is warm, or we got to go 5 to 10. So, and with gas prices, that's a good thing. So, don't have to go so far.
But like a two-part question. So I think you were involved with the recent release. You had some sort of fry that you were raising and released?
Yep.
So like, I guess when you release those, how far from the Sheboygan Harbor would you say, like on average, they go? And then what would the population, would you estimate, be of like, I guess, fishable fish in the Sheboygan area?
From them fish?
Yeah, well, I guess overall. I mean,
You're talking the net pens, right?
Yeah.
Yep. I was going to get into that next too, which, we tried years ago to do the net pen, and what a net pen is, it's Brad built 2 really nice net pens for Sheboygan, and they're huge. They're 8 feet tall by, I think they're 30 long by like 15 wide, and we have 2 of them, and it's got a fine mesh net on it. And we put fish in there, and what we do with that, we wanted to do this, Sheboygan was going to be the first one to do it, and it's got to be the Sheboygan Area Great Lakes Club sponsored it. It's got to be through a club. It can't be through like my company or an individual, but we all helped together and went through their club. We finally got it passed and got it done this year, which is good. Net pen started about 4 years ago, so we're a little behind the game on that, but we started it, and we have the best net pens around right now. They're awesome. I mean, because we learned from everybody else and made ours even better. And what we do is the DNR comes down. They came down, which I posted on Facebook a bunch, and Scott, yourself, a bunch of people came down and witnessed this. We held these fish for 3 weeks in April into early May. They brought fingerlings, the king salmon, down. They were yay big and small. They were like 3 inches. Put them in these net pens. We had to feed them twice a day. So the point of that is we're trying to make them bigger and healthier, because the DNR that day gave us 45,000 Chinook salmon. They took another 45,000, released them in the river at noon on that same day. Okay, so now them fish, which is fine, and that's what they do, but them fish, ours are going to be a little bigger, a little tougher. We're going to hold them for 3 weeks, feed them, get them a little healthier, so that the survival rate goes up. And that's big. That's one of the 2 biggest reasons we did it. The other one was we release them right before dark, and the cormorants can't gobble them up, or the seagulls, because they'll suspend and they'll get 3-4 feet below the surface, start heading out into Lake Michigan at 10, 11 o'clock at night. In fact, when we opened the net pens, them fish were past, the pens were south of my boats, and they passed my boats already, and they were heading out north already that night. So survival rate is huge. Now, in the 3 weeks during the Sheboygan River, we want them to get used to the river to come back to spawn there in 4 years. So there's 3 good reasons for net pens, and survival rate's very good. We had 1 die in the net pen out of 45,000, but out in the lake, survival rate's even better with the reasons I just mentioned. And then hopefully they come back to Sheboygan with that natural river we have, and they target that muddy water. They come in and spawn and die, and that's what they do in 4 years. So it was a great project, and WLBA was a little bit of a help with that. I'm the vice president of the WLBA, but I talked to the president a lot, Tom Kleiman, and he helped us out with a lot of tips and points, because Kiwani was one of the first with a net pen 4 years ago. So yeah, exciting project. And then we pull the pens out and we spray them off, clean them off, and we store them inside during the summer, or winter, whatever. So yeah, it was a big project of ours, and it was big for Sheboygan, and obviously we're going to do it every year now. So yeah. So I'm just trying to think if we covered. We got a little bit of time yet, but there's a couple other things I wanted to hit on yet. But yep.
So what do you see as the biggest threat to your industry over the next 5 years?
Well, there's like a couple things I'm worried about. The one thing is obviously right now with the gas prices, I'm worried, and not so. My phone's ringing good, and I go by how much the phone rings. We have a lot of bookings. We have 600 on the books already. It's about normal. But I'm worried if the gas prices get a little too high with these guys I mentioned that come from Minneapolis, Fargo, Sioux Falls, they'll cancel. If they got to pay $6 a gallon or $5 or something for gas, they might not come. That's a scare that none of us have ever seen, because this is the first year we've ever had this nightmare. And hopefully they taper off and come down. But right now I haven't had any calls of people worried about that, but that's a big concern. Me, for gas in the boats, I got to buy gas regardless, so I'm not too worried about that. It's just the way it is. But I hate to see people cancel their vacations and stay tighter to home because of gas prices. So currently that's the biggest thing right now that I'm worried about. The other thing is weather. I've been doing this a long time, and weather has been a nightmare the last 3-4 years, more so in the fall. Last year we had 150 trips. I had to reschedule or cancel because of August and September winds. And back in the day, like 5, 10, 15 years ago, you get one windy day, you'd have a thunderstorm go through, not a big deal. Now it seems like everything's lasting 3 days. And when it lasts 3 days, I got groups here that stay in the condos that never get on a boat, and I really got to beg them to come back because, you know, they drove 20 hours or 16 hours, 12 hours round trip from Minneapolis, and they don't get to go fishing. So I got to try and get them back next year, and I do a pretty good job of that, but I don't blame them if they don't get out. So weather is a big factor with the changing of the times with weather that everybody talks about on TV, and then also the gas prices. But it's two things that are out of our control. The good news is everybody loves salmon and trout fishing, and they still want to go. So, and with the stocking we currently have in the net pens, I mean, the future is going to be unbelievable. It's going to be, we're solid for another 10 years at least, you know, on good fishing. And I've been through all the ups and downs of the salmon kidney disease die-off we had in the 90s, and all we caught was lake trout. There was no salmon around. I had to sell lake trout trips, say, hey, come out, you're going to get a 30-pounder, but it's not a king. And people came, and they caught them. So I've been through the roller coaster ride of everything in this lake, and that's just the way it is, you know. But long story short is, at the end of the day, they all still want to go fishing, and they want to come to Lake Michigan. So, yeah.
What about workforce? Obviously, this is a different skill set.
Yeah.
So, are you guys kind of fully stocked as far as workforce is concerned, or you know, kind of give us an idea of what that looks like for you?
Yeah, we're looking really good. As you probably saw, twice I've had a post on Facebook now hiring. And mates, first mates. And the reason some of that was I had 3 really good veteran first mates step up to the plate, got their licenses this winter. They're driving the boats now. They're captains. They got their credentials. It's awesome. And I had 2 guys quit. So I had 5 guys I had to replace. So I put that out on Facebook. We had 12 people chime in and wanted the job. So I interviewed all 12. I had a little class in my store of questions like we're doing here, but with what they know and what they can do. We got them on the boat training, and we picked out the best 6. We actually picked 6 out of that. So it was a good problem to kind of have. We ended up hiring some really good guys. And to have 12 show up was great, and hire 6 of them that got the position was good. So I don't really have a big problem with that, and I feel that I kind of draw. Just hired a guy from Port Washington this year that's out on my boat, Kyle, doing a great job, and he walked in my store and he said, Dumper, I want to work for you. I want to be on the best on the lake, and I want to be busy. And I hired him, and he's going to be busy. And that's the people I kind of draw to the industry I'm in. If they come here, they're going to work, and they want to work, you know. So it's a good problem for me to have. I've never been short-staffed. Really, I've been right level. That's kind of why I stayed with 6 boats. You know, I said to my wife, well, let's go to 7 or 8. We're busy enough. But then you get into the problem of not enough workers. So we've been comfortable with where I'm at. You know, I have store personnel that run the store. I have condo cleaners. I have first mates, charter boat captains, oil changing maintenance guy, and a fuel hauler. So got quite a few that we employ. But I'm pretty fortunate we got a good staff of people. So I think we should be good to go. But to put that on,
it's a great summer job.
Yeah, it is.
Take hiatus for the summer.
It is. It is. It's a great job.
After watching you reel in fish, where you're like, my arms are killing
me. Yeah.
I don't know if you'd be able to handle that first mate thing.
It's a great job.
Probably not. But after,
right.
You know, after I got to build up strength.
Sure.
It's practice.
Yeah.
Practice.
Yeah. Reel them to the grill.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. But yeah, I mean, on a good note, yeah, it's a great job. It's one of the best in the world, and I did it back when I was a kid too, high school. It was a dream job, and my buddies were flipping burgers and at restaurants or McDonald's, and I was salmon fishing. I loved it. But on the other note, you're out there in 5-foot seas, and you're out there in lightning storms coming in and trying to get off the lake. So it's like any job. It's got its ups and downs, but at the end of the day, it's a good time. It's a good job to have, you know. Yeah, it's seasonal, but we stay busy enough that everybody's happy, and it's all good. So, yeah. But I think we covered most everything. Do you have any other questions at all, or no?
Do you have any, like, is there any big plans in the works for like the hospitality side or retail side, or adding more boats or anything in the future that you have?
No, because I'm right about here now. I'm level at 38 years. So a business. I kind of, what I wanted to really do, I got the drawings to go too high on my building with more condos. And condos for me, lodging, and that's why we stayed so busy in this industry, is I'm the one-stop shop. Nobody else in Sheboygan does it, and other ports, some do, some don't. And when they come by us, they get the fishing, they get the lodging, they get the apparel you can buy in the store, you got sodas, snacks, pizzas. And I kind of wanted to go with more lodging. I wish I would have. I had leased other condos that I had on the video here on Midwest Outdoors besides my building. But I kind of want to go more condos. Boat-wise, I'm not going to anymore. I mean, like, I have 8 boats going out Saturday, tomorrow, and I got 9 boats. I just booked a 14-boat group. So I farm out to other guys. And they come by me, they park next to my place, all the people load and go from there, we clean the fish there. So if I can accommodate huge groups. But as far as myself, at 55 years old, I think I'm going to just stay with the 6 I got. And we talked about it many times, going to 7 or 8, and I probably could support it, but I think 6 is comfortable. Running 1,000, 1,200 trips a year is enough. But if I had to change anything right now, I would do the lodging, because there's more demand for that, because you can fish 1 or 2 days, but they want to lodge 2, 3, or 4 days. So yeah, I might end up doing that yet, maybe go a little more lodging in my building. Down the road, I can use that for anything. I mean, it doesn't have to be fishing related as I get older, but right now we're going to stay where we're at. We're real solid. Now we have a great customer base. We have thousands of people come here to fish with us every year, and we got a good crew and don't have to hire no more guys, so that's good.
So as you are getting older, does Zach have any interest in taking over the business?
I was going to say succession
I
planning,
know.
yeah.
I want him to.
Obviously, you as
That'd be a
the
dream of a
largest
dad.
area, it would be a great loss
Mhm.
to our industry here.
Yeah.
So what
Yeah.
does succession planning look like, and who do we have to rough up?
I know, and I have 2 boys.
Sure.
I have 2 boys. I have Tyler and Zach, and Tyler's going on to school. He's super smart. He gets it all from his mother. I'm just a fisherman, but Zach is more into the fishing. Very smart kid too, and very hard worker. And he's down there right now, so he works for me every day. And he's got an interest he works at the airport in Delta too, Delta Airport in Green Bay, and he loves planes. So he loves planes and boats, and he's not sure which route he wants to go. Still lives at home. He's 22 years old. But he could take my spot over. He could probably do it. I thought about maybe stepping back a year and giving him a shot and just watch, and if it don't work, it don't work. But that'd be a dream of a dad, come true, of a son taking over a business. But is it going to happen? I don't know. What would I do if he doesn't? Am I going to put it up for sale? Possibly down the road. There's no plans of that right now, but if the right person came in and wanted it, I'd be kind of like a lot of guys are starting to do. Chuck Miesfeld's another, I talk to him a lot about things like that, and he's a very good friend of mine, and he gives me some advice. But if somebody came in and wanted to purchase it and I work for them or something, I would do that. I want to see no matter what happens, I want to see it stay where it's at and maintain the level that it's at. And another thing I wanted to briefly talk about is I do have a 60 by 125 storage building. It's our shop in the winter, and where I'm going with this is it's heated, it's clean, beautiful shop. The guys work there on and off throughout the winter, some of the guys, my captains, and that's why my fleet is as clean as it is. We run just a clean operation, and that's what brings people back too. So we do have some winter work besides just summer charter fishing. So and that's big with having inside storage, because outside you obviously can't get buffing, waxing, bottom painting done, and reels re-spooled and stuff when you're outside, and we got the benefit of the shop in the winter, so that's big. But yeah, time will tell where I'm going to end up with the business here, but who knows? Hopefully Zach takes it over, maybe somebody will buy it, maybe I'll work for them, kind of like Chuck did, who knows, time will tell. But I think fishing industry-wise, if somebody was going to get in right now is a good time. It's a good time to get in right now, because you got a lot of different marketing tools you can use. And internet, back when I started, was non-existent. So now you can really do a lot of free advertising on the internet and try and build a business from scratch. So to start right now or buy a business or start was a good time. And with all the fish stocking, it's going to be tremendous in the next 10 years or so. I mean, throughout the next 10 years, so be solid. So yeah. So, any other questions? I don't want to run you too late, but I'll stay as long as you want me to.
What's the max that can go in your boat?
Oh, that's a good question. 6. Yeah, 6. I have a master's license. I could take more than 6. I don't run a boat anymore. I just do the TV shows and a few repeat customers, but I'm running the whole show. But I do have the master license. Never really used it because we advertise 6 or less. All my other guys got 6-pack licenses. That's what they go to school for. So you can take 6 passengers, not just fishermen, passengers. The Coast Guard just worries about numbers of bodies on the boat. Which is a good number because you start getting too many on a boat. You want to be able to reel in a few fish, and 6 is even a big number. But yeah, and there's times you take out 1 or 2 people, a lot of 2-man, 3-mans. I accommodate a different price bracket than other ports do. I'll have a 2-person rate and a 6-person rate, so that 2-person does come. A lot of guys are just a set rate, and that kind of scares off the smaller groups. But yeah, 6. And our condos are the same way. I got everything set up with 6 in a condo, 6 beds. So yeah, so it's real efficient that way. So yeah.
Any other questions before we wrap up?
I think we covered pretty much everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. And any other questions at all? Yeah, I had great questions. Thanks, by the way.
Awesome. Well, we are at time, so thank you again to
Well, thank you.
Dan, and we